Welcome back. You're watching NewsX. I am Rishabh Gulati. So, if you had the Tikait brothers backing Pakistan here in India, guess what? You wouldn't have suspected this. In fact, when I was exchanging a message with Ambassador Mukherjee, who was sitting with us a short while ago, she was exchanging it with me. I couldn't believe it. So, I had to get this vetted. Surely not. This couldn't be real, because lots of things float around on WhatsApp. Who knows? But it is real. Ladies and gentlemen, Lakshmi Mittal, you all know who he is. He is a steel magnate, supposed to be the pride of India. He is the head of ArcelorMittal, major European company that he merged his company Mittal Steel with. He is worth publicly $18 billion. In the year 2013, the Lakshmi Mittal family set up an endowment in Harvard University in Boston. $25 million, that's roughly 200 crore rupees, were given as an endowment to set up something called the Mittal Family South Asia Center Institute, whatever you want to call it. There it is on your screen, the South Asia Institute. Very good. Let me just tell you that Harvard University currently has endowments worth $57 billion. So, Harvard University in its bank account and investments has 40,000 crore rupees equivalent. But obviously, that's not enough. So, they need more billionaires to give them even more. And Lakshmi Mittal was one of them. Now, he's made contributions in India as well. So, it's his choice what he does with his money. But 25 million, 200 crores of his money were sent to Harvard. Very good. Then he set up a team to run this endowment. So, what's the problem? The problem is, and we're going to get rid of this two window and actually put some stuff on your screens that's going to tell you. Pahalgam attack, we are now approaching a week into it. The South Asia Institute, run by the Mittal family, it bears the name of the Mittal family, organizing an event on Pakistan where all the guest speakers are known for the venomous, what is a polite word, nonsense that they talk about India. Now, when we rechecked, they have hastily deleted the page, but it's available everywhere else. So, they have now quickly deleted the page regarding this event, but they were holding a Pakistan conference. Now, who was going to speak at this conference? Muhammad Aurangzeb, Finance Minister of Pakistan. Ayesha Jalal is going to speak at this conference. Okay. Hamid Mead, journalist, famous for interviewing Osama bin Laden. Former governor of the State Bank of Pakistan. Miftah Ismail, former finance minister and a political economist in Pakistan. Members of Imran Khan's party, all of them are being hosted at the expense, we have to assume, co-hosted by the Mittals. Now, they've deleted it, but the belated reaction is fooling no one. So, I don't know what this endowment is running for. They do events on India as well. I'm not saying they don't. It's a bit tone deaf. And we're going to find it very difficult to absorb this. Ambassador Mukherjee is with us on the broadcast. Professor Madhav Nalapad is. Let me introduce the others also. I see Gautam Mukherjee and a few others. I think probably Adit. Ambassador Mukherjee, I mean, I'm sure you received this information. It is verified. Yes, they were indeed holding this event. Yes, they have tried to delete the page marking the event, but it's all over their own website. So that ship has now sailed. What do you think was going on?
Yes, Rishabh, that is exactly why I forwarded it to you this morning, because I was suffering from great shock since I have met Lakshmi Mittal and his wife, and I thought that they were patriotic Indians. In fact, they have suffered racism at the hands of the Goras when they initially took over Arcelor, and it was the Indian government and the Indian embassy that stood solidly by them, because there were some comments which were made on social media that they are not top drawer or whatever they call it, in the Brits call it, because they are not Goras like them. So India is pretty proud of the contribution of the Mittal family and all that they've done. he chose to give so much of his money to Harvard University, as you correctly say, that he is free to do what he likes. But to imagine the insensitivity, the and the politics of hosting such an event after the Pahalgam attack, and only pulling it down because there have been a host of messaging since this page was put up by indignant Indians globally and in India, questioning his patriotism, his commitment to India, asking whether he is at all aware of the horrific events and how they unfolded, etc. The point is, the event has been held and he has to be held accountable for it. Whoever organized it has to be held accountable. If they organized the event before the Pahalgam massacres took place, they could have just cancelled it. That's it, nothing else. We are not blaming him for organizing the event if it was organized before these horrific massacres. It's a South Asia university, so they would have events for every country in South Asia. But after such a massacre, it is extremely disturbing to think that a man of his position in society and looked up to by millions of Indians here as a representative of an Indian who's made good in the West and who has shown that Indians can achieve anything, for him to do this is to actually let down his motherland, his own country, to let down India and to let down the people of India who have stood firm in the efforts of Pakistan to divide us after this event. And to do such a thing also implies that maybe he's made so much of money now, Rishabh, that he doesn't care anymore for his own money.
No, they messed this one up, and the billions don't save you if you messed it up, and this is a mess up because I could not believe this happened. I remember the time when our Commerce Minister Kamal Nath was deputed to go out of his way to support diplomatically whatever we could do an Indian entrepreneur who had become a steel magnate, ran Mittal Steel very well, and when the takeover happened 2006 of Arcelor, which was in France, and the French politicians did not want an Indian buying that company. And I remember Kamal Nath was deputed. I remember this vividly. It was well reported. In fact, let's pull this out. Can we take us this screen here? Here we go. So when you needed India's help, you remembered your roots. India EU backed Mittal's bid on Arcelor. This is February 2006. Kamal Nath and EU Trade Minister Mandelson criticized politicians in France who were opposed to the takeover bid. Okay, and the takeover bid was successful. Speaking, Kamal Nath went to the extent of hinting that French moves against Mittal's company could even trigger a trade war. So he stuck his neck out, okay, as government on this. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just open something else. This is the Mittal South Asia Institute. This is the official page where all of this was. This is the Harvard University page. Here are the people who are the people who run it. Tarun Khanna, who is the director. George Paolo Lehman, who's their, I'm assuming, academic representative. Hitesh Hathi, Mirela Vaso. They have a director of business operations and finance, believe it or not. And then there are various directors and fellows, and some of them, it goes on and on. Project staff, then in-region staff, because they have an office in India as well. And then, of course, there are various fellows. Now, I'm going to address this first before I come to Harvard University, because I remember what happened to Shah Faisal when he visited Harvard University. But Professor Madhav Nalapat, I mean, I'm very happy to hear that $57 billion is not enough money for Harvard. They needed Mr. Mittal's money as well. I'm glad he gave it to him. It's an educational institution of repute. So he's contributing to that. Very good of him. But why would they want to be hosting people who are well known for propaganda for Pakistan, who represent the Pakistani state and establishment in Harvard? To do what? To apologize, you'd think, for Pahalgam, to feel bad about the sponsoring of terrorism for the last 80 years. What do you think they were going to introspect on?
Look, quite frankly, I am as appalled as you are that this event took place. As you correctly said, Lakshmi Mittal has Indian ethnic roots, and the country was proud of the fact that through him, the reality is that it was shown that those with ethnic roots in India can achieve the best. And that's what annoyed some of the Goras. And they made comparisons to him and, compared him to some, I'm not even going to name, but they were not human beings. So in that situation, frankly, in my view, the Lakshmi deserted Lakshmi Mittal when he bought Arcelor, because Arcelor's share price fell very sharply. And whoever are the Goras who sold Arcelor to him, they made a killing out of it. And frankly, he took a huge bath, as they say, in the world of finance. The reality is that, I'm not sure who was responsible for organizing such a ridiculous event, but even if we had sympathies for Pakistan, the reality is this casts Pakistan in a very bad light. It casts Pakistan indelibly as a terror state, justifying terror. And South Asia Institute, I would say, at the minimum, the persons responsible for green lighting this kind of a symposium ought to be sent packing. They do not belong to a South Asia university. They belong to a Pakistan Army Institute, and not at all to South Asia, which frankly, you've got multiple countries there, but it's wrong to call it that, because India is the one country that has got borders with every other country in South Asia, and no other country has borders with any other country except India. So this man has to be dismissed. And if he's not dismissed, frankly, I'm afraid a lot of calumny is going to come on the Mittal family. The good name he has in India will be very severely affected. So I think at an absolute minimum, I think we should expect that the Mittal family will dismiss the individual responsible for this. And even if this individual had pro-Pakistan sympathies, what he has done, frankly, is further evidence of the fact that people of those sympathies, they have completely a soft corner for terror. They don't see terror at all. They see a legitimate instrument of warfare. They see the murder of innocents by these terrorists as perfectly legitimate acts of war. And that's really very shocking. So I think such a person deserves to be in the institute where his mindset will be, or her mindset will be appreciated, which is a Pakistan Army Institute, not the South Asia Center. And the least I would expect Lakshmi Mittal to do, absolute least, would be to send this individual packing, because a total disgrace to Harvard University. Harvard University is known for its woke, for its tolerance.
I'm coming on Harvard in a second, sir. I want to, because I mentioned Shah Faisal. Okay, I'm going to come on that, and for viewers who've forgotten about that episode, I'll shed light to it. Let me quickly get both Adit and Gautam here. Adit, so 22nd April, I think within an hour or two, we've all seen the videos. Okay, I refuse to believe that these individuals who were sitting at the South Asia Institutes, Mr. Tarun Khanna, the director, Hitesh Hathi, the executive director, Mirela Vaso, Kartike Bhatotia, Carlin Carr, and lots of foreigners there, lots of Indians as well. Okay, Anjali Jain, Shubhangi Bhadada, Monica Setia, Shreya Majumdar, Angarika Datta, Sushma Mehta, Amit Chaudhary, Yuvika Parasal, Anjali Jain, Mariam Chaktai, Pukar Mala, who happens to be in Kathmandu, that none of them saw the video. And
no.
they saw it, right? And then 5 days later, they host the who's who of the Pakistani state, the who's who, okay, the creme de la creme of their propagandists. And they host them. And I can assume that these conferences, you are wined and dined and well looked after.
Wined and dined. There was a Qawwali function there. Muhammad Aurangzeb, who's the current serving finance minister of Pakistan, he was there. The Pakistani ambassador to United States, he was there. So obviously, this was a completely ISI sponsored program at the end of the day, where they were essentially platforming the establishment's agenda, the garrison forts agenda within the social sciences divisions of Western universities. Now let's draw a parallel here. You do well to remember October 7th happened, and Jewish businessmen globally who had endowments running within various Western academic institutions, they were retracting their funding from all of these universities because the social sciences divisions in particular were running feral agendas platforming Hamas. And that is what the Jewish businessmen did. In contrast, what do the Indian businesses do? And this is just not about the Lakshmi Mittals of the world. You have you have the Anand Mahindras, you have Mukesh Ambani, you have the Piramils, you have the Narayan Murthys. All of them for decades have been providing endowments specifically to the social sciences divisions within Western universities who work extremely hard to peddle a very rather anti-India and anti-Hindu narrative. The Chinese, on the other hand, they are the largest donors in the Western universities, but they focus largely on STEM sciences and AI, while they also ensure that the universities do not define China with their myopic prism. Whereas, we are seeking cheap validation from Western universities. We use their platform as businesses to basically create networks and further our myopic business interests. And that is what most of these Indian businessmen and business houses are predominantly interested in. They are interested in their children to get easy admissions into these universities, and that is the sad reality of it. And the bitter truth is that the Indian government, the Indian diaspora in these Western countries, and the people in India at large are not holding these businesses accountable.
No, we are confused. So again, you've seen the videos, you know what has happened. Okay, so you can make a judgment call. I've told you who these people were. Okay, here on your screens, this is it. I'm glad to see the Pakistan flag was flying high at Harvard University 5 days after what happened in Pahalgam. Happy to see that the Pakistan flag was flying with the American flag, and Hamid Mir there speaking. You can see a whole bunch of these people sitting. This is the closing day. You have the former Akram Raja there. He spent time in Pakistan, in the Pakistani establishment. What do you think they were discussing? Now I'm not going to play out what they were saying. Bridging divides and building a tomorrow, Pakistan 2025 conference at Harvard. What do you think they were discussing? Okay, right? I'm sure they were all, as they were taking Q&As, becoming very stressed out about Pakistan's legacy. I remember Hamid Mir became very famous for interviewing Osama bin Laden. I wish him the best in his career, but he's lived through difficult times in Pakistan. What do you think they were discussing? Let me put that question to Gautam Mukherjee. Gautam Mukherjee, I'm sure what was happening at this conference was grief and attrition, and they were all holding back their tears and their shock and disgust and being very stressed out when they were having the Qawwali evening. I'm assuming Mittal was paying for at least a part of it, the airfares, the Qawwali evenings, the dinners. So I'm sure they were discussing, oh my God, what horrible things has happened and how we go back and tomorrow we'll reform Pakistan and end terrorism. I'm pretty sure that's the conversation they were all having.
Well, that would be like a leopard changing its spots. No, I don't think so. What has happened is there seems to be an intersection between Harvard coming under fire, Harvard University as a whole coming under fire because of its sponsorship of Gaza, Hamas, etc., and withdrawal of support by the Trump administration, and a very adroit job, as some of the other panelists have said, by the ISI to incorporate, or if you like, use a very prominent ethnic Indian like Lakshmi Mittal to host a conference that was, no doubt an attempt to restore some of their, if you like, stature, if not credibility. Credibility after Pahalgam is difficult, with 135 countries and counting having condemned it, a large number of them being also Islamic countries, including Iran. and Turkey ostensibly, even though behind the scenes they seem to be helping Pakistan, and China, who also ditto are helping Pakistan while having ostensibly condemned it. So they have pulled this off. It's something of a PR coup, and ArcelorMittal has allowed himself to be used, Lakshmi Mittal rather. The question is why? What does he get out of it? Is it something to do with the American deep state, the ones that have been thrown out of power? Is it something to do with Pakistan? Is it something to do with Pakistan's backers, namely China and Turkey? We will find out as we go on, because Lakshmi Mittal has been a genius at going in and reviving, near dead steel mills. He is moving out of Britain now because of taxation, which has been changed.
Yeah, of course, I feel, really sorry for the taxes that he has to pay in London. I know a few other billionaires, millionaires hanging around in London who, if they were returned to India, they would face a different accommodation, let me put it that way. But in real terms, can you spin this, Gautam Mukherjee? Can you send a PR team and hire, because he has the money, ArcelorMittal can certainly afford it. Can you hire the PR agency and spin this so that we all forget tomorrow morning that this happened, or will this forever be remembered in the Mittal family name, that this happened after Pahalgam? I mean, think of 9/11, all right? After the Twin Towers and the Pentagon have been hit, okay? Imagine if a rich man like a Warren Buffett was organizing a Saudi, Afghan, Pakistan conference at Harvard University and inviting the who's who of the terror fraternity, the Taliban leaders, etc., to speak at Harvard. Would Warren Buffett be forgiven? Probably not. What do you think? Can this be spin doctored well?
Well, in politics, everything can be forgiven, but I think he'll have to buy his way back into India's good graces should he ever want to do something big in India. But for the moment, he has allowed himself to be used. These are not, less than astute people. This is not a coincidence or an accident or any such thing. He has deliberately done this. And it's not going to do very much for Pakistan given the circumstances right now, but it has done a lot of damage to Lakshmi Mittal's relationship with India. If he cares to repair it later,
Lakshmi Mittal does not have D2C, direct to consumer businesses. Okay, to my best of my knowledge, he doesn't really have major business interests in Pakistan either. So he doesn't have to worry about a consumer blowback. But yes, when he was in trying to do something important in his life, good, bad, ugly, right or wrong, we don't know, that's business. He asked for, sought and received the banking of the Indian state at the highest levels. And he's returned the favor many years later. I don't think this can be spin doctored anyway. I didn't think this existed until I saw it for myself up until yesterday. So let me now turn the question. I've limited time because I'm overshooting already. Ambassador Mukherjee, let's talk about Harvard University for a second. Okay. Now, with $55 billion, obviously they need every million that they can get because they're running short of funds. 40,000 crores, what is that? So Lakshmi Mittal was kind enough to provide another 200 crores to them, set up this institute. But I wanted to ask you, because you've given the civil service examinations yourself, right? There was a boy, first ever Kashmiri, who not only gave the civil services, so he wasn't radicalized, he wasn't picking up weapons. He said, I want to serve in India's civil services, okay? And he studied hard. He topped the exam, all India rank 1, okay? First time ever a Kashmiri boy came AIR 1 in the Indian civil service examinations. He joined the government and then he got the Fulbright fellowship to Harvard Kennedy. And he goes to Harvard Kennedy and he comes back radicalized. He now hates India. He wants a separate Kashmir. He starts his own political party. What happened to him in Harvard within a span of 2 years, do you think, ma'am?
What happened to him in Harvard is precisely the issues which are being raised now by the Trump administration, that Harvard University appears to be the epicenter of wokeism and a kind of false left liberal approach to global politics, to United States, etc. Perhaps the final hideout of the original American deep state. I know exactly whom you're referring to, and it was indeed very disappointing the way he was completely transformed. He came from a very radicalized part of Kashmir, Shopian, where you have these beautiful orchards, etc. And there were a lot of extremists at that time. And he defied them to give the exam, and then he came back radicalized and left the civil service. In this particular case, let me tell you, Rishabh, that I was in France when Lakshmi Mittal ran into trouble with Arcelor, and some very, very nasty and very racist comments were made about him and his family, very hurtful comments by the French, the Belgian, the Dutch, etc. And we stood by him through thick and through thin, the Indian state, and ultimately he did so well that he even got his son married in the historic Versailles, where very few French nationals, rich as they are, have been given permission to conduct marriages inside Versailles. So that is how he is now. I don't know what kind of a passport he has now. Maybe he has a French passport or an American passport.
I have no idea what billionaires, they have something called tax residency, so I don't know what all passports they carry.
I said, and I was told in the morning that he's stuck to his Indian passport. But I think that he should immediately sack, as you said, all the people involved in going ahead with this conference, and he should appoint people loyal to him, who are politically sensitive and who can at every point of time tell him that a particular event could impact his personal image, not just in India but globally, among Indians, among wherever he is, there is Indian diaspora, unless he lives in a desert island. What he has done is a grievous blow.
No, it's just, I mean, you don't have to be a genius. And these guys are, come on, ma'am, they have PR firms and they hire, I mean, these people are well paid. Okay, more than you earned in your entire lifetime in public service, they probably earn in a year. And that applies to me as well. These guys are well paid, they're well looked after. It's a cushy posting to join one of these PR agencies or become an internal cop-com, someone for even journalists like us, many of whom take that path and then head off and do something like this. The ignorance and stupidity cannot be the excuse here. It has to be it has to be beyond that. I don't know if other guests are still with us. Professor Nalapat, I have to ask you this question. Forgive me, because as I mentioned, I know Harvard University is really running out of money. $57 billion. I mean, what do you do with $57 billion these days? It pays for nothing. But after having taken extra money from Mr. Mittal to the tune of $25 million, how does it happen that a great boy, and Shah Faisal, by the way, is back in ministry now. He's changed his mind, he's changed his opinions, he's serving the country to the best of his abilities with all the intellect and ability that he has, which is great. It's excellent for the future of India to have intelligent people like him. But what do you think happened to him in 2 years in Harvard? He went there, became a different man, came back, and then once again had to become a different person.
Look, Rishabh, the sad truth is that these elite American universities, and I'm sorry to say, not only American, but British, Canadian, I mean, they have become breeding grounds for terror facilitators, breeding grounds for terror sympathizers. And but the point was, they went beyond an acceptable level. I mean, if any level is acceptable, I don't think it is, but the public will not really look at them. When you saw huge demonstrations in support of Hamas, Hezbollah, in which I'm sorry to say, some Indian students also participated. And of course, many of them hopped across the border to Canada. But as of now, the atmosphere in Canada is okay for them. I don't believe it's going to last for very long. But the reality is, the social sciences divisions of these universities are breeding grounds for terror facilitators. And I have great respect for those of Indian ethnicity who have made it big in all over the world. But the reality is, frankly, if they spent a fraction of that money on themselves, maybe their own universities in India, I think some have, if I'm not mistaken. Some have done it, the generals, for example. But and of course, the fact is that these universities can become world class. Manipal did not become world class because of any endowment. It became world class by sheer merit and by the court system. That despite all the odds, it has become one of the most premier institutions in the world. But I'd like to say, we can have 50 such institutions of world renown, institutions that can go out of the country the way Manipal has done. If only these billionaires invested their money in building Indian talent. And don't forget, Rishabh, the Indian diaspora is today the most, if I may say so, progressing diaspora in the world.
Yes.
By far the richest, by far the most progressing.
Okay.
And across the diaspora, they'll be shocked
But we are hooked.
At what Lakshmi
But we are hooked. We are addicted. We are addicted to the point that we put our money where our mouth is. Adit Kothari, the truth is that if you walked out on the streets of Delhi and entered some university campus and offered them scholarships to Harvard Kennedy, okay, very few would not salivate at the thought. Okay. What have we just learned?
So I think there's a couple of things. Of course, we seek validation from Western academia. We seek validation from Western institutions, and that is the bane that we're living because of, call it colonial hangover. And it will take a lot of time for us to deride that. It will take a lot of time for us to mitigate that. Even our own institutions today, you look at the Ashoka University, you look at Tata Institute of Social Sciences. I mean, they are pretty much what a Harvard, they're pretty much modeled on the basis of what a Harvard and a Stanford School of Social Sciences functions on. They're busy deriding our own history, our own culture, and in a very feral and rabid manner. And yet we have, nobody who calls them out. There is nobody who challenges them and nobody who, demands accountability from them, whether from the government side or from, other stakeholders, whether it be civilians, it be students, it be other stakeholders. And that is the sad part that we live with.
Okay.
That validation is a big problem for me.
Yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem. And then we get stuck that, Trump is cracking down on US universities. What are your kids doing supporting Hamas? Okay. Let's ask that question. No. If there is an Indian kid who's gone to Harvard, either they've gone on a loan or mummy papa have a 25 million endowment, okay, which is cool, or they've gone on a scholarship like the Fulbright scholarship. There are other scholarships that are provided. So that's money involved, right? And you sent your kids to Harvard University to go and support Hamas. It's free speech. You can do what you want to. You can support whoever you want. You can say that Pakistan is a great country and terrorism doesn't exist in Pakistan. You can even go out and say that Germany won the Second World War and the Holocaust never happened. You can live in denial about all these things, but the truth, as the Bible tells us, is what sets you free. Last quick thought before I take a quick break. Gautam Mukherjee, now the apology I have to offer you that in 2001, since I was only 15 years old, I was unable to, on the 16th of September, 5 days after 9/11, I was unable to invite the Taliban's leadership in Delhi and host them for a conference. So having missed that opportunity these 20 odd years ago, the absurdity of this is now troubling me greatly. Do we just say, okay, this happened and yeah, what do we do about it and move on? Or should exactly what be taking place, what is being discussed, that the director of these institutes have to be sacked, Lakshmi Mittal should be coming and apologizing, and we need to relook at our fascination with these premier institutes?
I certainly think Lakshmi Mittal himself should be called out in no uncertain terms by the Indian ambassador or the consul in America to explain why this was done. And in all probability, he will give some kind of fudging excuse saying it was a mistake, and we'll have to leave it at that. But I think there is a method to this, both from the Harvard side and from Mittal's side, and we need to probe this to find where
Okay,
it's
so you think it's even
actually
worse, that there is a method to this, that there is a motivation to this. It's not an oopsie daisy.
No, there is a motivation to this. People like Mittal don't do oopsie daisy unless he's on his last legs, and he's not.
Okay, all right. So we leave Lakshmi Mittal, who has, I'm assuming, large teams of people now wondering how they're going to respond in this country, because the cat is out of the bag. There's no burying this. There's no bribing your way. There's no PR campaign, spin doctoring that you can get your scared out of. Lakshmi Mittal will have to come and say who messed up, what they did, what their thinking was. And if he can't say it, we let the silence speak. Then I assuming what Gautam Mukherjee has said is the truth. And I'm free to draw that assumption because I still live in a free country, just like in Harvard you're free to sell Pakistan. Please go ahead, sell it. And then see what happens when you forget where Muhammad Atta was before he went to Germany and before he took that pilot's license, which country he visited. You forget, you keep forgetting, like children who know neither whence they came nor whither they go. That's Churchill, by the way. We take a break. See you in a minute.